attendees to ask questions. So if you would, we're going to go ahead and start the panel, Kenya. And if you've got some questions, please put them in the chat room. So this is the question I have for the other two speakers. What's the biggest challenge you've seen companies struggle with during these times?
Yeah, I can venture a take on that, especially in the context of this work from home environment. I feel, Nishant, not only was this like OKR discussion really relevant, I think one of the bigger challenges is cohesive communication and rollout of, these OKR plans or strategic goals in a distributed fashion, because we're trying to solve against communication hurdles. There are a lot of like personal challenges team members are facing, and I feel it takes 2 to 3 times more effort in part of managers to actually roll out their initiatives than if they had their teams in the office, right? It's a lot more cognitive overload. So that's at least what I've experienced the last few months.
Sid, if you were looking for me to answer that, I would build on what Ajit said and what Nishant said. But what I would say is that what's about to occur is most organizations are too hierarchical and too bureaucratic, and the times are changing so quickly that it blends really nicely into what the OKR is for, setting an objective and then allowing people to figure out how to get to that objective. But right now, a lot of larger organizations are really hierarchical and bureaucratic, and it's very hard for people to move. Whether they're face-to-face or whether they're distributed, there is additional load of being distributed. But I think this time in this COVID environment is really going to force organizations to become flatter and empower more people to do more things. My take.
So what else would you say, if there was one thing that you think that a company should do moving forward, what would you suggest?
If you want me to go, Sid,
Sure.
I would definitely say is to look at the opportunities, and Jeff had touched on it. Like this kind of a change creates a lot of opportunities, and we are definitely entering a digital era in so many different ways, whether it's like marketing, product, sales. We are entering digital era has been forced upon us, and this creates huge opportunities. I mean, you can every single business should evaluate. A lot of people have talked about like how to survive, how to get through this, but really how to use this as an opportunity to get to the next level. And there will be a lot of success stories which are going to come out from this.
Anybody else?
I would have said exactly the same thing. We just have to remember that a lot of startups that are big now, like Uber and Airbnb, were formed in a downturn, and they recognized the opportunities that emerged in that downturn and created new models. What's likely to happen, I think, is we need to focus less on products and more on new models.
Okay. We've got a question from Urani Brown Armstrong, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. It says, lately I've seen companies, especially larger companies, struggle with agile methodologies to try to accomplish initiatives and goals. Some of the larger stretch thinking and ideas that have been discussed today, I feel that should be part of the solution. What are the best ways that you see that employees can steer the Titanic for the better? Hopefully it's not the Titanic. Any takers?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a pretty open-ended question, and I think it's on the point that we need to know where the Titanic is going and what's in the path in regards to the icebergs. And I think like when we talk about strategy, there are two main things, like where you want to be what kind of strengths you have built to be there, and how do you handle the short-term challenges and opportunities which come on your way. And if we are talking of the employees or the management, I think to focus on building those core strengths and being aware of how the challenges and opportunities are showing with respect to the strengths and weaknesses we have is really the key of navigating forward.
Hey, Sid, this is Seth. If I could offer something. So my observation with our company, you know, we deal with global clients up and down the ladder. Because they're big, I mean, first of all, there's no one answer. The second thing is that because they're big, they really have more human resources to deploy. And those are become human business partners. They basically try to touch base in addition to the leaders, the direct leaders, to get a hold of their employees to get their feedback. And I really seen that it might not be advertised, but these people are busily remodeling how they conduct business. So this pandemic, I mean, even for me, in our family, we find a lot of things that we did are not needed. Same thing in companies. That's my feedback.
Sid, one other thing I'd say, just to jump in quickly, is it's hard to steer the Titanic, and a lot of steering is being done by emotion or opinion. The way to do it in the future is with data. Having data, having evidence is going to cut through all the arguments and all the opinions. Having data is what's going to steer. So the companies that have data or are getting better at digital transformation and manage their data more effectively will affect more change faster than those that are just doing it based on past experience or opinion.
Ajit, any ideas? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only thought I had was this concept of hierarchy and kind of bottom-up leadership. I think the current environment is also especially challenging, and I guess leaders can feel that they have total onus to, you know, lead their organization through, you know, darker times, or like, you know, when sales are low or the products are not selling. But a lot of the initiatives in general environment come bottom up. And, you know, specific product managers may see an opportunity somewhere and then just like start leading the charge. So that speaks to the culture point that was made earlier. Like if you have a more bottom up empowered culture, then they can, you know, your employees will start an initiative. So, you know, my company caters to the retail industry. Contactless returns are a big thing now. Everything is going contactless. So that's an example where, you know, a motivated product manager could just build a solution. And many times in the Valley, you know, you sell the solution before you build the solution. So there's a lot of initiative that is available, and it's a function of culture. So, you know, if the organization has a culture that is less hierarchical, they can be more agile. And if it's more hierarchical, they may be efficient in going one way, but that's where the Titanic things comes into play, right?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I very much appreciate it. You know, for a lot of us right now, some of us actually feel like we are in the, you know, the Titanic, and we can see the iceberg. And maybe for some of us, it's actually hit the iceberg. These issues are daunting, and we have to consider all sorts of things. You know, for example, what would it be like to talk to somebody for 2 hours, you know, when they're looking like this? And maybe it's okay for us, but if you're, for example, a blind person, you can't see somebody, or somebody who's visually or hearing impaired, sorry, you can't see their lips move, and that's a little bit of a challenge. And if you think about it, this is particularly difficult when we're entering the political season. There's an old saying is that, you know, how do you know if a politician is lying to you? Well, their lips move. Well, now we can't see their lips. So there's some big problems that we have to face. And so what I designed this new mask. It's like the N95 mask, except it's specifically designed for politicians. And riffing off of the previous day's speakers from last week, it's called the BS 2020. So in addition to filtering the COVID virus, this sports a specialized BS meter. So for example, when a politician is talking to you and you get to a category level 1 BS, you'll start to see some indication that, you know, there's a problem here, that BS is in the air. And then when the BS starts, when the politician starts wanting something from you, we go to the warning level, which is BS level 2. And if it's in full campaign mode, then we go to BS level 3, which means BS is flowing freely and you need to seek shelter immediately. So this is a politician-friendly face mask with the BS meter. You can get this at any department store if you know where to get it and how to build it. And we will provide free delivery to Washington, D.C. area, okay? So, but I wanted to show you this one because there are some other silly ideas that we can come up with that can get people to start thinking about masks or PPE or just being safe, okay? Sorry about that, guys. But there is a more serious element to this.